It's taking so long. Hello there, my name is Maddie and I am halfway through my first pregnancy, and today I just want to sit down and document how the pregnancy has gone, how the timeline has been, how we told people, all of the different stories that come with pregnancy. I'm also going to go over a little bit of my symptoms and also getting diagnosed with VCI at 20 weeks at our anatomy scan. And so if you're curious about any of that, you can definitely stay tuned. I've recorded this video a few different times and each time it gets a little shorter, a little more concise, so we are getting there. Hopefully this won't be the longest video ever. But you probably still need to get comfy, so grab a snack, get comfy, put your headphones on so you can walk away and not have to watch the whole video, whatever you want to do. I have been watching a lot of video updates about pregnancy throughout mine, and so I thought this would be helpful for other pregnant women. But then I also, like I said, I just want to document everything so that whenever little girl is here, if she ever wants to, learn about how her pregnancy or my pregnancy with her went, we can go over everything and just show her kind of a snapshot of me whenever I was pregnant with her. And so I think that'll be a good keepsake, a good thing to look back on. And otherwise, I'm just gonna jump right into it with y'all. I have created a little timeline. So if I look down, that's what I'm looking at, is my little timeline of the first 20 weeks of pregnancy. And then otherwise we'll just get right in. For context, I got married in May of 2024 to John, the love of my life. We understood we wanted to start our family and that, we're both about to be 30. We wanted to start getting the ball rolling on it, but we weren't putting a ton of pressure for it to happen. It was just like if it happens, we're gonna be ecstatic. And if it doesn't happen, we at least are removing that goalie already so that we can start the process of trying, but like in a casual, laid back way. Our wedding was beautiful. My mom really pulled off exactly what I had in my head. And we went to Disney for our Disney moon. Highly recommend going to Disney as just adults if you can, and experiencing it without the kids if you can, just so that you enjoy those parts that maybe aren't as easy to do with little ones. We did a lot of the Star Wars stuff. We did a lot of trying out different cocktails and all those things. And it was just really fun. It was a really great time. And then we got home in June, and I was not pregnant in June. And so again, we were enjoying summer in July and everything was going great. I was prepping for a trial, but I had been debating on if I was gonna pull out of that trial because I have a sport dog, for context, for people who don't know who I am. And I was going to be trialing in September, but I was kind of rushing to get ready because I had done all the wedding stuff earlier in the year. And so I was trying to debate if I was gonna do that or not. I was really trying to get the ball rolling on getting back into the swing of the business after going off for a few weeks to get married and stuff. And then also getting back into the swing of things with my competition dog, Stark. And on July 17th, I am 2 days late on my period. So I am at Aunt Terry's house and I'm gonna take a test. I hope I'm pregnant, but we were trying this month, so it's just kind of caught me off guard that we're 2 days late. I told John that I'm late, but I didn't tell him that I was gonna zip over here and take a test. One more minute. It's okay if it's negative. I hope it's positive, but it's okay if it's negative. Okay, it's time to look. I don't want to look. I don't want to be disappointed. I really want a baby. But it's okay if it's not a baby. Okay. Oh my God, thank you. wanted this. I've always wanted this baby. I'm doing a second one with the screen. I gotta tell John. I gotta figure out a way to tell John. Holy shit. That's super pregnant. Oh, that's so pregnant. There's a baby in me. There's this baby in me. Why is this one taking so long? It's taking so long. I'm having a baby. We're having a baby. Needless to say, I was really emotional. I, again, have always wanted to be a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom. I've always wanted to be in this era of life. Wife, kid on the way, that is literally a dream of mine. And so I'm living my dream right now. And I just was so happy, but also so in surprise because again, I just was like, we didn't even try really hard. I don't think we even hit ovulation day. It's fine. And then I was pregnant. So I went to Walmart. I got a onesie at Walmart. I tried to find a gender neutral one. There were really not a lot of gender neutral ones. So we ended up with this pinky colored onesie, which is funny because later we ended up finding out it was a girl. And it's funny too, because very early on, I was telling John, I was like, this is a little girl. I know it, and I don't even know why, but it is a little girl, just so you know. And he was like, really? I don't think so, whatever, trying to say that you don't know for sure. And I was like, I do, but also you're right, I don't, But I had gotten a little pinky colored onesie. It said Little in Love. It had little dogs on it. And I put it in a Walmart bag. I had my friend set up a camera. And then this is the footage of John finding out that we were pregnant that same day.
For real? Really? Okay, awesome. Oh gosh. How exciting.
Yeah, I took two. So those are definitely yeses. And then I got this little thing. Look at it. Little unloved. Because they're kind of big, small. I couldn't really find any unisex stuff that I liked. And that's why I was gone for so long.
Oh gosh.
We're gonna have a baby. And I already told Madison because I was like, I need help.
Gosh, we're gonna have a baby.
So for the rest of the day, we kind of just sat in bed and hung out together and absorbed the information. And we were very, very excited, but we were also a little what do we do now? We talked about if we were going to use a midwife or a hospital. I had always wanted to try to use a midwifery if I could, just because I thought with my own issues of getting overstimulated and also watching my friends all give birth in the hospital, I just kind of was I feel like I might like the midwife experience better. And I also was really curious about water birthing. And so I told John, I know it's a little more expensive, but we should look into it. And if we can't do it, that's okay. But that's something I do want to consider. And then by calculating my period, I was 4 weeks pregnant at the time. So it was really early when we found out. The very next day, I ended up telling my sister, but I did not know that FaceTime doesn't record audio for my sister and my mom and dad. And so by the time we got to John's mom and dad and his family, we did record the audio for it on a separate phone. And I'll kind of edit those together. But these first two, you probably won't see any audio for. But yeah, so I told my sister first, just because my parents were on harvest and I kind of like didn't know how to go about telling them, and I was going back and forth on how to tell them or how long I should wait to tell them. And so I chose to tell my sister just because she's my sister, and I called her and told her on the very next day. And then by the end of that week, I couldn't stand it anymore. I think I woke up and it was a Sunday, and I just impulsively like FaceTimed my mom because I had to tell my mom. And my dad was there, and I knew they were going to be together at the time whenever I FaceTimed them because they were going to church that morning. And so I was able to just have a little moment with them before they went to church to tell them the news. The day after we told my parents, we had an appointment set up to meet the midwife we ended up deciding to go with. Her name is Carolyn with Held Midwifery, and we love her. She is the sweetest, nicest lady. I am very enthusiastic about using her care. She is a certified nurse midwife. So she was a nurse for 6 years at a hospital, and then she studied under another midwife. Now she's going into her own practice. So we're one of the first of her opening this practice, but not the first of her delivering babies. She's delivered babies for quite a long time. I really loved meeting her. She was so sweet. And I also felt very calm and peaceful that it wasn't going to be where she held us in her care even after I should be transferred to the hospital. She was very adamant about like, if you don't need to be here, you don't need to be here. I don't want you here. I want you to go where you're gonna get the best care for you and your baby. And that's what made us really comfortable with her. The entire time since I found out I was pregnant, in these early weeks, I just felt so peaceful and so like, it is gonna be good. Like God is good and this is gonna work and we're gonna have this baby. But obviously too, you're like going back and forth on if you should be telling people that you're pregnant already, but then like I'm an oversharer in personality, and I, again, have always wanted to get pregnant and have a baby. And so I was just so excited. I decided, okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and tell like the whole world because I can't hold it in. And the whole world as in like our super inner circle, our family, our friends, like people that, you know, we regularly are interacting with that we want to know. Early in the pregnancy, I wasn't feeling a lot of symptoms, but I did start having morning sickness at 6 weeks, like on the dot. It was like, happy 6 weeks, you're puking in a Chick-fil-A parking lot behind the dumpster. Literally, I pulled in to get breakfast because my grandpa had been in the hospital. I was headed up to see my grandma, and I like was gonna get us some breakfast. I have a photo of her and I eating that breakfast, but I literally went and puked behind the dumpster, and then just like got back in my car, swished my mouth out with water, and then proceeded to get the food and head to the hospital. And it ended up that it was just like a perfect situation to have a lot of family all in one place for that side of the family. Because my grandpa was in the hospital, we also decided it would be like good news to bring them while they are, you know, struggling with something medically. And so I had John come up with the onesie, and he went ahead and, you know, had the pregnancy stick in there, and I gave it to my grandpa, and he was like staring at the onesie for a second, and my aunt across the room was like, and sure enough, like, yeah, we're pregnant. And it was so nice because we finally got to like hug family members in person while my sister and my parents had been off, you know, in a distance from us. And so that was so nice to be able to finally like embrace people and be like, yes, we're pregnant, and, you know, celebrate that at the 6 week mark. The 6 week mark really was a busy time for telling people because then in a few days, my other grandparents happened to be in town. So we went to have lunch with them. And while having lunch with them, we did kind of the same thing. We presented them with the onesie. They like opened the bag, looked at it. Oh my gosh, you're pregnant. And we were very happy and celebratory that day as well. My grandma was like, you're gonna make me have to wait to tell the rest of the family, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, just because I was trying to decide how to do it where like they could all know at one time. And so we ended up sending out a text message later to the group chat once we had like basically confirmed care with somebody, and also had scheduled the ultrasound for our first ultrasound to confirm like everything was very viable and everything. And so we let them know that, hey, we're pregnant on August 4th. And again, this was like the very end of the 6 week mark, and we called John's family on FaceTime.
In here that might give you a clue as to what it is.
Okay.
So
Is it a puppy or? You're pregnant!
Yeah!
Oh, Laura's face.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh, you took it.
I'm glad
It was just the best, and honestly his family's reactions were probably the best. They were the funniest. But it was so good to finally tell everybody, and like at that point then like my besties knew, my inner circle knew of family and friends, and it was just like the best to be able to sit there and relish in the fact that we were gonna have a baby. My nausea was picking up, and it was definitely there. I was definitely struggling at times. It would be like I would have a terrible day of vomiting, and then I would kind of mellow out for a few days and then again. And that kind of slowly increased to that 8th week. The 8th week was probably the week that I lost like 5 pounds, and probably the worst week, but I did start Unisome and B6 that week and kind of got to where it was very manageable after that. So we told his whole family, and then we had the ultrasound on August 8th, and we got to see our tiny little bean.
I try to avoid that at all costs if I
You
can.
can record that.
Oh.
Got a heartbeat. 144.
Is it normally like that?
Yep. I'm getting more around 6 weeks, 3 days, so could be off maybe a week or so.
She was just a little tiny bean at this time, and again, somehow I knew it was a girl. Every time I've gone in with my midwife, we've heard the heartbeat, and that has been just the best. I can like put in a compilation of all her heartbeat videos because I just sit around listening to them all the time because it is the best sound, which every mom will tell you, but it is the best sound.
160 right now, which is normal. She's wiggling away from me. That's her. That kind of like swooshy sound is measuring her heart rate through the umbilical cord.
Ooh.
And that's more like a gallop there. So that's right on her.
They were initially going to wait and do a gender reveal on the ultrasound at 14 weeks, I think it was supposed to be. That's like the earliest they can tell the gender. But then I was talking to my sister about maybe doing the thing where you put a cake with dye and you put the glass in and you pull it out and you see if it's a girl or boy that way, and doing like a little private photo shoot so that we could then use that photo shoot to be like our pregnancy announcement to the rest of the world. As well as just to document like, oh my gosh, this is a girl or boy, and the big reveal, but more in a private way, not in like a giant party way. And so I talked to my sister, and her availability to take those photos, because she is a great photographer, was a little limited. And so it ended up being that on September 10th, we went and did a midwife visit. I think my mom was actually able to go to this one, which was great. So it was great for her to get to go meet Carolyn and to like see the place and see how close it is to the hospitals, and then hear the heartbeat and get our blood drawn for a blood test at 10 weeks to determine the gender. And so we had her text the results to the cake maker who made our cake for our wedding was the same cake maker we used, and she took the cake to my mom because she's a family friend of ours, and then my mom held the cake for us until the day that we met up. September 15th is when we did the gender reveal. And again, we were at 12 weeks at that time, and it was so great. We went out to this really pretty spot that my dad helped Sarah pick out, and we had them record for us so that we could show John's family afterwards. It ended up being a girl, so I was right.
Go slow because I'm going to come and zoom in and stuff.
Okay, ready?
Hold on. This is it.
John, put
This
yours
is
down
it.
a little lower.
This is it. It's happening, people.
Huh?
It's happening.
Yeah, so you're like looking at each other. Push it, go.
Push it.
Yeah, look at it. Go nose to nose.
Hard.
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't look yet. Push hard. Push hard. And okay.
I feel like I'm on the bottom
Okay,
already.
now you pull out. You're not supposed to
Bruh.
look. It's a girl.
It's a girl.
It's a girl.
Hold on. Hold that kiss. Hold that kiss. Hold it.
Again, the
Hold it.
pencil was wrong.
The pencil lied.
Kiss again. Kiss again.
Over yours.
Why am I not getting this?
It was just like the greatest little time. We FaceTimed them. I had gotten a onesie for both, if it was boy or girl, so that we could take photos afterwards. And essentially we were like, okay, we got a blue or pink onesie, we'll hold up which one it is. And so we held it up for them, and it was a girl, obviously, and everyone was like, yeah, we knew it was gonna be a girl. And so we were very excited, and it was just such a sweet time. John was definitely, you know, in disbelief, but also a little bit like, darn, I've been surrounded by women my whole life, I wanted a little boy. But I told him we could always strive for a little boy later, so we'll see if that ever happens or if we'll be girl parents for the rest of our lives. The only thing that happened though after this was I forgot that night, because of just the excitement of it all, I guess, to take the Unisum and B6 combo that I had been taking to fight the nausea, like I had said I had really bad on week 8. And so I was the sickest I'd ever been that very next day on that Monday. It was awful. It was so bad. And then that next week, I had gotten back on the medication. I went back to being all good. And then the next week we started second trimester, and my energy had been coming back pretty good at this point. But yeah, so it was kind of smooth sailing after we started the second trimester. We just kind of went to our appointments, hung out in between that. There was a lot going on in the background, like personally with work, and just a bunch of stuff was going on. But all in all, we were just going to church, praying, getting closer to God, and then otherwise hanging out, enjoying, you know, just the idea of getting our little girl to be here. We picked out a name. I'm not going to reveal it here yet, but we did pick out a name. While we were looking for a name, we downloaded an app, and it's like Tinder. You swipe left or right on names you like or dislike, and then eventually if you get a match, it's because your husband and you chose the same name, and so therefore it adds it to your baby list, and then you are able to like go through and see all of those things, because John is very picky and I am not. I would have like 100 names on my list, and John would have like 5, and then we would see which ones we matched on and go from there.
Now that I'm editing this, the funniest part about the whole like us using this app for so long was, 1, how ridiculous some of the names were. They were just so funny. And then 2, we didn't use any names from the app. Literally none. Literally none of the matches. One day I just came up with the name, and it sounded so good and it flowed so well, and eventually that just became her name. So that's the fun story of it all. There is a family name involved, but again, I'm not revealing it yet. So if you know, you know, but otherwise you're gonna have to wait.
From 12 weeks to 20 weeks was kind of uneventful. There was really just like not a lot going on. I did start feeling flutters. I had gotten sick at one point, and it was an experience not being able to take medicine for something that like would have been a mild cold, but was knocking me on my butt as far as like not being able to take medication goes. I went to this herbal tea place and got an antiviral tea. I was drinking teas like all week, and that same week I started feeling little flutters. We did do our anatomy scan this last week, and we got to see her cute little face.
You to take,
Okay.
just a preliminary. There she is, and then for y'all. Nice heartbeat though, sounds good. Right. she was scrubbing away for the midwife last week. So,
Because is it anterior placenta? You like don't feel as much.
yeah. Whoa. Aw, cute legs. What?
She was so active the entire time. The lady kept going, "Do you not feel that?" And I was like, "No." But she also is only, or was only 14 ounces at the time. She may be a little more than that now. And I have an anterior placenta. And so that just basically means it's on the front and blocks some of those movements from being able to be felt. This week though, I did feel like quite a bit of a jab at one point, right after I had 8. I had 8, we were like back in the car driving, and it just was like, whoa, boom, like a little karate chop. So she's definitely very active in there. She's moving around. We had that on Tuesday on the 20th week. So this week we're 21 weeks. And on that Friday, so this last Friday, we did get a call with the results from the anatomy scan, and everything had looked normal. She's in the 46th percentile. She's looking really good. The fluids are looking good. Her organs are looking good. But we did find out and got diagnosed with a VCI, which is a velamentous cord insertion. And because of that, basically, I'll put a diagram on the screen, but the cord is inserted not into the placenta directly where it's going to be more protected with those arteries, but is actually into the membrane of the placenta. And so it is not as protected. It's a little more fragile, and there's just a few things that are a little bit risky, but right now we're not moved out of that low risk category quite yet. The placenta placement is really good. So if it was lower, then they would be more concerned, but because my placenta placement is good, then we may be okay after all. And the biggest thing to look for, and what we're going to be looking for going forward, is making sure my belly's growing, which it definitely has this week, making sure my weight is going up, making sure that she is growing. And we are going to do a little bit more monitoring of like her kicks and things in that 3rd trimester. I'll be starting my 3rd trimester literally this new year. So we'll have Christmas, and then I'll be in the 3rd trimester. And so we're going to start counting kicks at that time, keeping track of her kicks, making sure she's okay in there.
Hi, Pet Sitting Maddie here to give you an editing update again. So I just feel like I came across really, really positive, fully accepting of the VCI in these videos. And yesterday I was, so like, don't get me wrong. I think I'm still very optimistic about what we're doing and what our situation is. But I will say that I, like most people who get diagnosed with this, have gone through the anxiety and the concerns and the just like not knowing what it means and then researching it and getting a little scared. Something that really helped me, if you do have VCI as well, I went and joined a Facebook support group for VCI babies, and the positive stories and shared experiences on there has just been so calming and helpful to the situation. Apparently also sometimes VCI will correct itself over time. If your placenta is low, sometimes your placenta goes up as the baby grows. And then also like getting induced early because of growth limit is really not a hard thing these days, so long as you're like to that, later window. And so I just want to say, if you just got a VCI diagnosis, then be careful when you're researching to not scare yourself too much.
Listen to your physicians, listen to your midwife, and also try to just remember that you can't do anything. You didn't cause this, and it's just something that happens sometimes. Apparently 1% of women get it. It's usually pretty rare for singleton babies. It's kind of common for twins. But at the same time, my midwife in the last few months, which I say here in a minute, I think she has had 5 births and 2 of them had this situation. So if it's 1%, it's a very common 1%. So, you know, just keep that in mind, and we're just taking it a day at a time. I'm like trying to not be afraid to process my emotions when they do happen, because I do get nervous and I do get concerned. But at the same time, as long as my belly's growing, as long as she's growing, and as long as we continue to, you know, pray, that's really all we can do is pray and continue forward. And so I just wanted to pop on and just give more of like a realistic little insert right here, so that you know that it's not all roses, but it's also not bad. Just focusing on the fact that we do have modern day medicines. I was going to use a midwife for my birth, and I hopefully still will, but at the same time, I'm okay with the fact that hospitals exist for situations where if she stops growing and we have to go get induced, or if I have to get a C-section because my placenta is looking where it may detach from the cord, like stuff like that. There are solutions out there, and it is something that is common enough that even though it's rare, doctors have seen it and they know what to do, and midwives have seen it and they know what to do. And so I just would encourage you in that way to keep that in mind as you kind of look towards the future of your pregnancy and your baby. And like I said, those support groups that I joined, they had so many good positive stories of perfectly healthy babies and no problem labor. And then some that came early, but they're still perfectly healthy. And then, you know, you just kind of have to ride the wave while you're in it. Okay, I'm gonna record this on Snapchat real fast because it lets me save Snapchats, but apparently I just ran out of memory on my phone for the last stint of this video. I kid you not. But yeah, so the cord insertion, we're just gonna have to wait and see how it goes. It could be like a risky thing, it could not be. Right now it's not, and we're just gonna be monitoring her going in for a 32-week growth scan, just to double check her size and the amniotic fluid and make sure that everything looks good so that we can continue to full term, hopefully. So that's our current prayer request, is to keep us in mind, and hopefully we will be ending up with a full term baby and a smooth labor. But we could have some complications with like the placenta delivery and stuff. So we'll just have to see kind of how it goes. Apparently many women though don't get diagnosed with this. It's like not always caught on ultrasound, and the midwife has delivered a few in the past few months with no problems. And so we're just gonna be on the lookout. We're gonna be keeping an eye on things, and it's a blessing that we were told. So that's kind of where we're at. So that is my halfway point through pregnancy check-in. I will be updating y'all as we go. We are now going to be starting on the nursery, so I think I'm going to make a video all about us starting on her nursery and trying to get it done by the end of January. I don't know. We're going to see how it all goes, and hopefully the second half of pregnancy is just as smooth as this first half has been, despite the VCI. But we are so happy, and little girl is already so loved, and I am just ecstatic to be a mom and to be in this era of life. And so tune back in, I guess, if I get the second video uploaded of the second half of the pregnancy. And hopefully I'll also be recording a labor story video, because again, I have taken so much from listening to other moms about their own pregnancy. I just want to contribute the same, and then also document it for our little girl. So thank y'all so much for watching. Hopefully it wasn't too long, and I will see y'all in a few months. Bye.